I think what's interesting about both of you gentlemen being here is you're both very centered on community. You're both very conscious about it. So my question to both of you, and I'll start with you, Keith, and then we'll make our way over to you. There's so much conversation about our community, our relationship with each other, about Black men and politics and, their desires, et cetera, et cetera. What is something that you wish more people understood about Black men?
I think the biggest thing is that Black men have feelings. So often you hear, you don't hear from Black men. And that's one of the reasons why I do the podcast, because there are men out there that see the issues that are in the community and they're doing extraordinary things. And it needs to be highlighted. I mean, for the most part, what are we going to hear? We're going to hear the more than likely the negative stereotypes. And even our celebrities, right? I mean, what were the big things that were going on today? Drake, Kendrick Lamar diss wars. That was huge. Diddy and his challenges. And not a story of a Black man that wants to transform his community. You're just not going to hear those things. And those are the stories that need to be told, because I think the negativity, and I'm sure we'll get into that, impacts not just how we view ourselves, but then how our women view us too.
So you would say that Black men have feelings?
Yes.
That's what you're, okay. Yeah. And what about you, Isaiah? What do you say?
I was going to go off of that, but to elaborate on that a little bit, I think that we don't get enough credit and enough grace. Just like Black women, we've all suffered here, specifically in America. It's been a lot of things going on throughout our years and the generations to carry on. There's a lot of damage and trauma done. And I feel like for Black men specifically, because it's been labeled that as men, we're not allowed to have feelings and outwardly speak about how we feel. It leads people to kind of disregard the way we feel. Therefore, the way we show up is different a lot of times in spaces where we don't feel comfortable or heard. So that internalization just turns into more anxiety built up in Black men. So I think people need to understand that we deserve grace and we want to be better for our families and our communities. And I think a lot of times it's the narrative basically says that we don't really care. We don't care about our kids. We don't care about getting jobs. We're not as ambitious as Black women. They pit us against each other, when I think that that's a lie. I just think that we might not always verbalize the way we feel because we don't feel safe. So we deserve those safe spaces. And that comes with being given grace by everybody.
Do you feel safe with Black women, or are you saying you feel unsafe in society
I think
large?
in society in general, but a lot of I'm lucky because I've been raised by great Black women, but a lot of my brothers have not felt seen or heard in spaces with Black women.
Really?
And I think it's just because the feelings, I think it's just based on some stereotypes of like how men are supposed to carry themselves, even when they're dealing with hard times. So while they have been supported, I think sometimes their feelings may have been disregarded. You get what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
Well, but I can think there can be some Black men that don't feel safe around Black women because of, right, especially how the mothers or aunts or whoever that were in their life, if it was a traumatic situation, that's going to carry over. And so their energy, the energy that the Black male is actually bringing forth will attract that certain Black woman. Maybe a Black woman that wants to take advantage or see that Black man as weak and use it to their benefit. And so let's say, I'm a Black man that's been carrying it down. I can hold it down from an economic standpoint. But then when it gets down to being there for the family or for the kids, didn't get that knowledge and doesn't know how to do it. And then, also has a woman that's in their life that can take advantage of that. That's where the problems come in.
You both have intimated that there are Black men who don't feel safe in spaces with Black women.
Correct.
Yes? We both agree there.
Yes.
So not you personally, but you do know.
I've heard a lot. Yeah.
Can you give, because it's not your own personal experience, is there any example where you personally
I can speak from an experience earlier on.
Okay.
Because I have a wife and a daughter who literally makes me want to work harder and do better every day. So I'm grateful for that. But growing up in the household, I'm the only boy. My dad wasn't in the household. My father and my mother split when I was 7. I became the man of the house. So while I was, let's say, going on 10 years old, I was raising my sister. My mom dealt with anxiety and depression. So I don't blame her for that because I understand what life can do, especially having my own experiences later on with it. But what I will say is having sisters, I always felt like I had to be a protector right away. That's not the part where I say that I felt unsafe. I say I felt unsafe when I went to say, I don't like this or I don't feel good about this. And I was called feminine. You know what I mean? My feelings were disregarded with every feeling of, if I'm crying, if I'm anything but angry, I'm considered to be weak. And I feel like that doesn't allow me to feel safe. I grew up to learn to internalize the way I felt. And that allows you to be a people pleaser. You kind of just take what people give you and you hold everything else in because it's not manly for you to complain about how you feel.
And who was saying these things to you? Who said that it's feminine for you to say you don't like how something feels? Who was regarding you that
My
way?
mom sometimes.
Really?
And even though I learned growing up that anxiety and depression show up differently in everybody. So while my mom passed when I was 18 years old, just to give you any reference, but like looking back on life and looking at how anxiety really kind of caused her to unravel over time, I learned that a lot of that was resentment from my father. You get what I'm saying? While I'm still in the household, and also not having a proper father figure in her own life. So what she sees as masculine is from the men that she has dealt with over time. And if she has bad history with my father, then it's like, you look just like your dad, or don't do that. That's feminine. Right. Or, boys don't cry about this. Stop crying and complaining versus what's wrong? Why are you feeling like this? What happened in school? So a lot of times I would just go to say, I'm just not going to say anything because nobody really, really is concerned about how I feel. And it became very, very hard, even in my marriage earlier on, for me to be honest about how I felt about something that made me feel uncomfortable. I can speak about anything else. I can help you through anything. But if I feel uncomfortable, I don't know how to verbalize how I feel. So I say that that's unsafe because then I go on in the world and I can't treat the women right that I'm dating because I don't have the proper tools to express myself.